Today, we want to take a look at different damage effects in Diablo 4 and hold on before you think, now I know how to deal damage, I'm no dummy. Let's make a bet. You watch this video all the way to the end, and if you learned something new, you have to subscribe. In Diablo 4, we're having a total of 7 different damage effects. We are starting with the most commonly known one and work our way up to the more complicated ones that need a bit more explanation. And probably known, it's almost in every game, we are having critical strike, which means you're having a base value of 5%, and at a rate of 5%, you will deal 50% extra damage. And this can be increased by items and skills. And how to spot it in-game? Right here you can see the white number. This is a normal damage number. And if it gets yellow right here, this is your indicator that you have just had a successful crit. Then next up, we are having Overpower. Overpower has a start value of 3. And here it is important, it cannot be increased. This value is fixed. So you cannot find items that give you increased overpower chance. But there are certain skills that can, for example, bring this value up to 100%. So you should keep your eyes open for this. And the way the damage calculates on the overpower, it's not as simple as crit damage, where you only have like the 50% increase and then you can increase this with your gear. Here it actually matters how much life you have and how much fortified value. And then afterwards you still have a multiplicator that has a base of 50% that gets calculated on this. But I will make a separate video explaining the overpower and critical damage scaling compared with the lucky hit in an extra video. I think this goes too far here. So how do you actually spot it in game? You can see right here this light blue color. This is an overpower. And yes, overpowers can also crit as well. And this is the orange number right here. So if we're going back, we are having the yellow paired with the blue one, will be the orange one for the overpower crit rate. Then next up, we are having vulnerable. If an enemy is vulnerable, this means you deal 20% extra damage to the enemy. But this effect can also be put on you by certain enemies as a debuff, which will then make you take 20% extra damage, and you should be extra careful. And you can see it for yourself right here in the little health bar on your screen, where you will have this purplish color and those cracks, which means whenever you see this, you are having 20% increased damage from monsters. So you should be extra careful and get some defense going. And on the other hand, if you see it right here with the purple and the vulnerable over the head of the monster, then it's your time to deal damage and get going, because you have 20% more. Then next up is lucky hit. So lucky hit is not like, there's no visual effect in game. Lucky hit is determined, the effect of lucky hit are determined based on the weapons you are finding. So we can see this right here as an example. If you're wearing this wand, you have a 4% chance to immobilize something if a lucky hit triggers. And how does a lucky hit trigger? So for example, here we are having the skill Flay that has a lucky hit chance of 50%. If you, for example, in-game don't see this lucky hit chance, you have to go to settings and turn on the advanced tooltips, or take a look at the best settings of Diablo 4 guide I made, so you know how to unlock those really valuable informations that you actually need. So right here as an example, Flay has 50% lucky hit chance and 4% immobilize chance. So if we are doing the math right here, we are having a 2% chance basically to immobilize the targets that we're fighting against, which is not too bad, right? Especially if we are in an AoE skill right there. Next up, we are having execute. And this is another example of a lucky hit chance proc. So there's no guarantee that execute happens every time you have a lucky hit. But there's items that you can find that execute monsters. And an execute is described as an instant kill if a monster is below 35% life. But the downside is this only works against trash mobs, so it doesn't work against elites and bosses, which that may not make it really valuable in the late game. We will have to keep our eyes open on this, and I will keep you updated. Then we are having damage over time, also known as DOT. So if anyone ever refers to DOT, that's just the shortcut for it. And in Diablo 4, we are having 4 different kinds. We are having bleeding, mostly used by the barb. Then we're having burning, that is mostly used by the sorcerers and other fire skills. Then we're having poison, mostly used by the rogue. And poison also used a lot by enemies with all those pools, especially the elite packs. And a lot of bosses in the beta also used it. And then we are having shadow damage that also has an overtime effect and often gets overlooked right there. And how can you spot it in game? So you will see the health bar here. The first part is light and the other one is already a bit dark. That means this monster is affected by damage over time, and this health will tick down to 0. So if you're playing a burning build or a damage over time build, as soon as you see that there's no more light red in the health bar, it's only the dark one, you can already continue on because the monsters will tick down and die. So this increases your farming efficiency a bit. And then next up we are having the direct damage that is referred to in many items and skills. And this is basically pretty simple. We have just talked about what damage over time effects are, and everything that's not a damage over time is considered direct damage. You've made it to the end. If you want to see more content like this regarding crowd control effects and life effects, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And while you wait for Diablo 4, check out this legendary crafting guide I made, which gives you 8 tips to not lose any of your hard-earned gold on release. Cheers!